Welcome to Sports Econ 101. And for those of you new to our show, imagine a few guys sitting around a bar without the drinks, talking sports and business with you, the audience, listening in. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, well-known radio sports personality Bruce McGowan, and Vern Glenn of CBS affiliate KPIX-TV in San Francisco. On this show, we're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective. In addition, we're going to be asking sport trivia questions, where we're going to be giving away vacations to the first three callers with the correct answer. Our phone number is 888-660-4495, and you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. Now, the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina. The vacations are free. The only request is a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Check them out at lighthouse4fun.com. You can also listen to Sports Econ 101 on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and CRN. Today's trivia theme is the 1980s NFL. One of the reasons is that our special guest is expected to be John Vella, former All-American offensive tackle chosen in the second round, and Oakland Raider, Super Bowl 11 champions against the Vikings. And he mostly played in the 70s, but he finished off his career in 1980, so I thought that would be kind of fun. We'll also cover some other topics. Hopefully we'll get into Justin Tucker, the kicker for the Ravens, talking about how some people want to move the goalposts tighter to make field goals more difficult. 22-year-old Michael Carter Williams, rookie for the 76ers. His stepfather is getting him to put $4.5 million in a trust that Michael can't touch for 3 years. Andrew Bynum doesn't like the repetitive nature of fundamentals. Talk a little bit about that. A-Rod, of course, we got to cover him. And players who make stupid plays such as taunting or unnecessary roughness. You know, do you think the team should penalize them? And this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding over 8%, secured by real estate. It doesn't get any more conservative than that. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. Stay tuned. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Right into it. Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
What's up, America?
Hey, and Bruce McGowan is not here yet, but we do have on the phone John Vella, former All-American offensive tackle, chosen in the second round, and Oakland Raider, played on the Super Bowl 11 champions against the Vikings. He shut them down. John, welcome to the Sports Econ 101.
Hello. Thanks for asking me to be on the show.
Yeah, John, boy, it's been a long time since I've seen you, John. It's nice to have you on, man.
Well, this is great. It's a great time of the year, and it's a great time to be a football fan. I mean, the playoffs are great, and when it's a do or die, hey, you win or you win or you go home. The intensity is at a different level. The players are a little more. What's that expression they use all the time? They're a little more chippy.
Chippy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll say.
Do you miss it? You look like you could be ready to play again.
Well, shoot, hey,
Except for the
too
knees.
many offensive tackles in their 60s, but mentally I'm right there with the way it was in our day, and boy, those days against the Steelers and the other playoff teams, but mainly our main rival were the Steelers, and we knew you had to get by them to go anywhere.
Yeah, Edward, I was about to say John misses those checks, but back in the 70s, but checks weren't nearly as big as they are today.
It's laughable.
Yeah.
On what we made compared to what I hear these guys make now.
That's okay, John. Hey, as it was then, as it is today, the best interviews on the team are the linemen.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because I'm on the line right now, or if that's the truth.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I remember that shoot. We used to call. We had a few names for Upshaw, the judge, and the attorney, and because he was always holding court with the press in those days.
Well, before Vern, before we got on the air, John and I were talking about how he was the right guard.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right tackle.
Right tackle. And because Stabler was left-handed, he was considered, quote, the blind side.
Yeah, had to protect his blind side. Yeah.
But, John, you were go ahead and tell Vern and the rest of the audience here about how that term didn't even exist when you were playing.
Well, that term was never existed. Of course, if people thought along those lines the way they do now. Art Shell was the Hall of Famer and All Pro for many years. He would have been they would have switched him to the right tackle. But in those days, especially in college, people thought right-handed, right side, and the right tackle in colleges and going into the pros was the more powerful tackle, at least in college.
You know, John, I was going to ask you, why do they call it a tackle when you're the offensive lineman? I mean, you're not tackling.
Yeah, it's not too creative. If you're a defensive player, it's okay. They should have come up with a different name, a blocker right or something. Blocker left, blocker right, rather than just call everybody a tackle when we don't tackle anybody.
That's okay. Tackle sounds tougher.
Well, that's true. Now, John, your first year, I think, was 1972, wasn't it? That was the okay. That was the famous Immaculate Reception year. What was it?
Right?
Yeah, what was it like to play against the Steelers? Because there's a picture that you gave me of you kind of taking Joe Green and Jack Lambert on at the same time after a touchdown by the Raiders.
Yeah, it wasn't uncommon to get into it with Lambert or one of the other Steelers, but it was most of the time. I remember getting into it with Lambert 3 or 4 times, different games. But he was always the guy to give the extra shove or the extra push, or the picture that you have where it shows me getting into it with Lambert. Clarence Davis scores a touchdown, and Lambert jumps on Clarence after the play's over. I mean, it's a touchdown, and Lambert just jumps on top of Clarence, and I knocked him off. I happened to be right there, and knocked Lambert off, and he came up swinging. And that picture that you have was the result of that. But Lambert was easy. He was an easy one to get into it because he was always doing a little bit extra shove, the extra push, the extra hit after the whistle.
How much talking was going on during the course of a game, John?
You know what? I didn't talk much at all, and L.C. Greenwood, the guy I played against, didn't talk a lot. So I tell you, our group, our offensive line group wasn't Beeler, Upshaw, Shell, Dalby. We weren't talkers where it was like we just played. I mean, Lambert talked, and it was easy to retaliate against him. But I tell you, you didn't hear. Man, we'd go through a whole game, and there wouldn't be 2 words between me and L.C. Greenwood, and so that talking was a little bit overrated. There was a little more talking from our defense with Atkinson. Atkinson was a talker, and he on defense.
I would think you guys would be out of breath too much to have too much trash talk.
Well, I don't know if it's out of breath, but hey, you got to get back to the huddle.
Yeah.
And it's like you know what, the talk. I just look at talk as like that's not going to accomplish much, and boy, if you're intimidated by talk in the NFL, boy, you're in trouble. You shouldn't be out there.
Who made the calls along the offensive line? Was it Bueller then?
No, it was just Dalby.
It was Dalby. Okay. So traditionally, the center makes all the offensive line calls.
Right, or he would make not all of them. I mean, if there was a running play to the right and depending on the play, it could be a thing between the guard and tackle assignments, or to let him, or between the tight end. It could be a combo block between the tight end and tackle, and so there'd be communication between the tackle and tight end, and the center would really have nothing to do with that call.
What was the audible call by Stale? If you wanted to change the play, I mean, now the big word is Omaha.
Yeah.
Omaha.
And I heard on TV how some guy he thought he was so correct saying, "Oh, Omaha." That was probably because it's a 3-syllable word and it's on 3. And I heard that and I was saying, this guy gets paid. Are you kidding me? You know what? It would be colors or numbers, and we would change it up. It wouldn't be the same thing every week. And I would doubt that Manning would be using Omaha this coming week. And another name or another number or color could be the exact same thing. And basically whether it was whatever it was. We use colors and we use numbers.
Now today, sometimes I hear on certain occasions the quarterback just yell, "Kill, kill, kill."
Yeah, and we used to have just colors: blue, 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 red, 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 and that would mean that would be identifying. Steeler would be identifying a defense.
Gotcha.
And maybe they played three-man defenses, so it would be he'd just be identifying the defense, so everybody was on the same page, and everyone knew, okay, this is how we block when he calls blue, 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 or Omaha, Omaha, Omaha. That it's really identifying the defense and tells us, okay, this is what we got to do because he's kind of pointing out this is what. Because sometimes you can't see where, if the linebacker or the safety is up on one side, or if the linebacker looks like he's going to blitz from the outside, or whatever. So the quarterback kind of identifies the defense, and hey, we're going to block this way. And it could simply mean the line is sliding to the right because they're overloaded on the right, or the quarterback anticipates a blitz on the right, so we're gonna shift to the right, so I mean it's probably a little more complicated than that, but that's the basics.
See, Edward, the show's called Sports Econ 101. We had a little football 101 explanation.
Exactly.
I'm going deep in the memory bank.
Okay, John.
I haven't talked about these calls for a while.
Yeah, man, it feels like we're in a meeting, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, John, stay with us because when we come back, I want to ask you about what it was like playing in the Super Bowl. So just for a second, stay with us. Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break here, and the trivia theme is 1980s NFL. I figured that'd be kind of fun since we have John on the phone here.
Okay.
Okay, here is the first trivia question. In the strike-shortened 1982 season, which team finished the season winless after only 9 games? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-660-4495 to answer this question. In the strike-shortened 1982 season, which team finished the season winless after only 9 games?
Wow, 0-9.
0-9. Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back with the answer. Okay. All right, John, hold on with us. Let me just save this file, and we'll get right into the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Okay.
God, winless in 82. Wow, let's see.
Remember, it was a shortened season.
Wow.
I was done in 82. I was done. I was a fan then.
Now you played in one Super Bowl, and I guess you just missed the other one, didn't you?
I just missed the other one.
Yeah, with the Vikings.
I was released by the Raiders in 80 and played with the Vikings in 80, and that was Super Bowl. That was Raiders Super Bowl 18.
Okay. And I want to get into that story with Bud Grant, too, with the gloves and stuff, because especially with the cold weather, the way it's been for these guys playing, I thought that'd be kind of interesting. All right, let me just do this here. And all right.
That was the old Municipal Stadium back in Minnesota, right?
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, man.
That's stuff. Yeah, no metronome then. Okay, we are going to start in 2 seconds. Are you ready? Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
Hey, man.
Okay, and when we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this first trivia question. In the strike-shortened, this again, the theme is 1980s NFL. In the strike-shortened 1982 season, which team finished the season winless after only 9 games?
Wow, let's see. Who was
John,
sad? Who was sad in 82?
Who was sad in 82?
Let me think.
They were in the playoffs this year, but they lost.
Really?
Yeah.
They're in the playoffs this year?
Yeah,
they're in the
they
playoffs
lost.
this year, but they're already gone.
Okay, we don't have too much time, so I'm going to tell you. It was the Baltimore Colts.
Is that right?
Baltimore Colts. Okay. So
that makes sense. That's the team John Elway didn't want to play for.
Exactly. Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
And we are on the phone with John Vella, who is an All-American. He used to be an All-American offensive tackle chosen in the 2nd round, and a former Oakland Raider, Super Bowl champion 11 against the Vikings. Now, I want to ask you, John, what was it like, playing in the Super Bowl? I mean, how much more pumped up are you for that game?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was exciting, and playing in Southern California, and that's where I grew up, and there was going to be a lot of friends, and my parents. It was an easy drive down the freeway to go to the Rose Bowl. It was exciting. And practicing down there and seeing friends and family during the week, it was an exciting time. And you tried not to think of the millions of people that were going to be watching on TV, and just tried to make it. This is another game.
And the Vikings didn't really give you too much of a challenge, as I remember, right? Vikings didn't challenge you too much that day.
They didn't challenge as much?
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Well, you know what? It may have looked like that, but you know, they were pretty good. I mean, Alan Page and Carl Eller and they're pro four. It was a pretty good defense, but we held them pretty well and made it look easy.
Hey, let me ask you this, John, because it's an issue every year. How do you separate the fact that it's the Super Bowl and you want to get up to it, because I mean, come on, it's the Super Bowl, from the fact that basically getting the mindset that it's an away game against the Minnesota Vikings in Pasadena?
And the question is?
Well, basically not getting too overhyped over the fact that, hey, wow, it's the Super Bowl, where maybe the mentality might be, hey, it's a business trip, just like any other away game, only it's a big one. It just happens to be an away game.
And there's no home team.
Yeah.
Right? You don't worry about the 12th man.
Personally, there was more anxiety, more nervousness, more anxious for 2 games leading up to it, because we had been there before. I mean, we were in the playoffs every year. We would lose the first or second game. We were the favorite. We were favored to go. And we would lose the first game, and we win the first game, lose the second, or lose the first. And some of the games were pretty crazy that we lost in the 70s. So honestly, my feeling was a lot more nervous, a lot more anxious in the first game against New England and the second game against the Steelers.
Do you remember if John Madden, gave you a fire and brimstone before you ran out of the tunnel? What was his demeanor like in the locker room before you ran out into the Rose Bowl?
You know what? John wasn't big on pep talks. You know, he would state the obvious, that you worked hard and do what we practice and compete. And he would state the obvious. He wasn't one with speeches that were new Rocky, like screaming and yelling and throwing things around. I mean, he would state really state the obvious, state the basics. It was like we know that if we play our capabilities, when we did practice, shoot. But on the other hand, we also knew, hey, the Steelers are pretty good. And these other playoff teams, they put their pants on like we put them on. And this isn't high school or college. I mean, and you recognize that and understood that too. That hey, yeah, we can do what we can do, but they're pretty good too. So that you were, at least I was. I think you had to be very realistic, especially. I mean, you had a real. Shoot. I mean, you playing against the Steelers in the 70s. I mean, they were good. I mean, you're playing against. With 10 or 12 guys that eventually made the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You knew they were good, and you knew you had to be at your best to beat them.
Well, tell you what, hey John, I want to move on if we could. I know that you had you stopped playing for the Raiders, and then you got picked up by the Vikings. And you told me kind of an interesting story about going out in practice with gloves on with Bud Grant. Can you reiterate that story again?
That's another larger than life figure,
yeah,
Bud Grant.
Yeah, my first days there, I always wore gloves in practice. I always wore gloves in the game. I'd wear a pad. I wore like a padding over my gloves, and then I would take the pad over my gloves. And anyway, so that was a routine. Not because it was cold in Oakland, that was, I felt more confident in, blocking, and you didn't get little nicks, you didn't get your hands all nicked up, and you felt more confident. I did blocking. So when I show up and I put the gloves on the first day of practice, it immediately attracted attention in the locker room, and I remember players asking me, "Hey, have you cleared that with Bud?" I said, "Cleared what?" They go, "There's no glove rule here." I said, "Well, it's not cold today. I'm obviously not wearing it because it's cold." I mean, it was September and it wasn't cold yet. It wasn't snow. I said, "I'm not wearing it because it's cold. It's just that's just part of my uniform. I just wear gloves." And so I just went right about it. I put the gloves on just like I was putting on my shoulder pads over my gloves, and taped up my wrist, and taped up my pads on my glove, and then when the players were asking, and then sure enough, I go out there with the gloves on, and Bud Grant calls me aside. And he goes, "John, what's with the gloves?" And I said, "Well, it's part of my uniform. This is what just like I can wear my pads." He said, I don't wear them to keep my hands warm. I wear them for protection of my hands and have more confidence in throwing my hands into a guy's face mask or wherever your hands are going to go." And that was the end of that conversation. He never asked again, and the conversation was never brought up again.
Oh, so he let you continue to wear the gloves?
Oh yeah, but he kept the no glove rule. He never asked me, and guys would give me. And then when the weather turned cold, there was a few guys that felt they had to give me a hard time, saying, "Oh, I'm putting my hand in the snow. I guess Vella doesn't have to." And they'd be letting the coaches and the other players hear it. And I guess Vella's hands aren't cold today, and I guess he puts his hand down and it was just like I ignored it. I ignored it, or I'd laugh it off, or I'd say, "Yeah, I guess you're right."
Well, hey, was Bud one of those?
He didn't change the rule.
Was Bud
changed the rule, and he never went back on that first conversation when I heard what I was.
Well, hey, John, I want to ask you: was Bud one of those coaches where it's like doesn't matter if it's 10 degrees outside, there's no heaters?
Well, that was it. Yeah, there were no heaters on the sidelines, and no glove rule. Those were two things. But 1 year I was there, I mean, we played some cool games. Oh, and there was another thing. That year, it built kind of a big bubble to practice in, AstroTurf, and the big bubble was about a 60-yard AstroTurf field. And players were so fired up about this because they thought, "No, when the weather gets cold, we're going to be indoors." And then it was like a guessing game when the weather did get cold. Let's say, "No, it's not cold enough. We're outside." and it was like, honestly, the weather, it was kind of a mild winter for Minnesota, and I bet you we didn't practice in that bubble more than 6 or 7 times the whole season because it didn't get cold enough for Bud Grant to think we had to practice indoors. Meanwhile, they built this big bubble, the AstroTurf. Players were all fired up about it, and then Bud made a rule. Hey, unless it falls below a certain temperature, and we never knew what that temperature was. Bud would just say, "Hey, it's not cold enough. We're outside."
Who was your quarterback back then, John? Was it Steve Dills or was it Tommy Kramer?
Tommy Kramer.
Okay.
Dills was the backup.
Okay.
Well, John, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you've got to get on to some other stuff. Thanks for joining us on Sports Econ 101.
You don't want to get John to weigh in on what he thinks is going to happen over the weekend?
Yeah, hey, John, you know what?
Man, we got AFC Championship, we got NFC Championship. We got to know where you're going, John.
Oh, you know what? It's hard not to take Denver at home, and it's hard not to take Seattle at home.
I don't know. I think the Niners got a good shot at it. I don't think Russell Wilson.
They got a good shot.
Yeah.
It's a very good shot, but a very good shot and winning is two different things.
That's
true. What is Seattle 15-1 up in Seattle, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough to beat, but hey, they can. I mean, the 49ers are playing great, and they can beat them, but Seattle has got something going up there. Anyways, those are my picks.
All right, John, thanks again. John Vella from the Super Bowl champion 11 Oakland Raiders.
Go Raiders.
Thanks a lot, John.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Thanks. See you.
All right, we're going to cut to our second commercial break. Again, the theme is 1980s NFL. Second question. Which Bears quarterback played in all 16 games in the 1985 season? That's an easy one. The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-660-4495 to answer this question. Which Bears quarterback played in all 16 games in the 1985 season? Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
All right.
Excellent.
Because this show airs Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it had to couldn't let him go without addressing the
Yeah. Thanks for
conference championship
game.
game.
See, I get so focused on it because they get so like this with time that I just
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for.
It's all right. I got your back.
You got my back, man. So you're going to be in the studio. Yeah. Let's see. So actually, yeah, you're done the rest of the season, like working, and I mean, you can't enjoy the games just kind of watching at home or anything. Any one of them.
Oh,
so
no.
This one and then this. Yeah. Nope.
No.
All right.
I think a lot of these games are going to be dictated by the officiating crew. Nobody talks about that.
Oh my gosh!
The officiating crew can make or break you because they're either going to let them play,
yeah,
or they're going to call everything.
How'd you like Cam Newton going? I mean, it wasn't his fault, but he goes into like this, and they go, oh, helmet to helmet.
Oh yeah.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
But the Niners did a lot of the same things
Yes.
the Panthers were doing, and they didn't get the call.
Oh my gosh! And Anquan Bolden, man, it's like, shut up. You know, all this trash talk and stuff.
Getting up off the ground and like shoving the other guy's helmet down to the ground and like getting in their face, and then he headbutted a guy and he didn't get called.
I know. I definitely saw that. That's what I like about watching it at home. No wind eruptions. I can really kind of get into it. Okay, ready? There we go.
Also in that.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
All right.
Okay, Bruce couldn't make it today. He was out surfing, that rascal. And thank you again, John Vella, for joining us on the phone. Okay, second commercial break trivia question. 1980s football is the theme. Which Chicago Bears quarterback played in all 16 games in the 1985 season? Vern.
I'm going Jim McMahon.
You're wrong. Trick question. I told you it was easy. Steve Fuller.
Steve Fuller, number 4.
I was surprised. Well, I know. And then, wait a minute, Harbaugh was number 4, I guess, afterward.
Yeah.
Isn't that, I was really surprised at that one. I got that one wrong, too.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That threw me off.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't trick you like that.
No, that's okay.
That's okay. All right.
I got to respect that.
Okay, so just a couple of interesting things here. Justin Tucker, the kicker for the Ravens, talked about how some people are wanting to move the goalposts tighter to make field goals more difficult. And he says his suggestion is, well, how about receivers not wearing gloves? Now, remember a long time ago you had Lester Hayes with the stickum?
Yep.
Yeah.
They outruled the stickum.
But then they came up with gloves, which I think that's fine. So what do you think? Are field goals too easy, and how would the game change if they do?
I think you have to leave it the way it is, because the only time the field goal becomes theater is if it's a really long one, or it's just like a high pressure kick. I mean, it's
or
those goalposts. I mean, they seem really, really wide, but they really aren't.
When the camera shows, like if you're kicking a 45-yarder, it's amazing how small they really do.
Oh yeah.
And then you get like an Adam Vinatieri against the Raiders, kicking in the wind and the snow, and it's kind of moving all around.
So much is involved. I mean, it's got to be a clean snap. The guy's got to catch the ball, move the laces out, so you can get a true feel in the kick.
That's what happened this last weekend.
Yeah.
Right?
So I leave it the way it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I do have one rule change that I think they should do. When there's after the after, let's say there's a touchdown or after an extra point, and they say unnecessary roughness, and we'll do it on the kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're already kicking through the end zone anyway, the extra 15 yards is irrelevant to kick it through the end zone. You know what I mean? It's like, what's the big deal?
Well,
about
then,
that?
how do you enforce the penalty?
You make it 15 yards from where the next play would come. How's that?
Yeah, but how do you know where the next?
Well,
Yeah, but if it's on the kicking team, then.
Well, if it's on the kicking team, then they'd have to kick it from 15 yards before, and then that's not good because then they could easily do a run back. But if it's on the team that it's against, and then they go, okay, well now you just instead of kicking from here, you're going to kick from 15 yards further. It's just going to be going through the end zone anyway for 20. You know what I mean?
Now I could see. I could see from wherever the guy is tackled on the kick return, tacking it on then. If I could see
that.
Yeah, you might have something there. Yeah. I mean, because the rules committee, they get together every year to see how they can kind of augment it.
Well, and speaking of which, you and I were talking just before we came back from break here about how the referees might, have a huge influence on these games.
Yeah, I want to see who the officiating crew is going to be for the Seattle-San Francisco game and for the Denver-New England game. Because if you let them play, then certain calls aren't going to be made. But if you call it tight, then nobody will be able to get away with anything. Yeah. Or if you call it so super tight, let's just say, and this happened in the Carolina game, Carolina commits a penalty, but then the San Francisco commits the same penalty, and they don't get the call.
Yeah, like Econ Bolden.
Yeah,
doing a little too much trash talking, and it's funny. We were talking about this before about how Cam Newton. If you look at that play where who's the Niners who got called? Was it Willis? Who got called for the penalty for helmet to helmet on Newton?
Scuda. Daniel Scuda.
Daniel Scuda. Okay, and if you look at the play, it was a normal tackle. It's just that Cam Newton turned his head into it.
Yeah, Scuda's momentum was going forward. Yeah. Newton turned into him.
Exactly. In fact, Newton could have called for helmet to helmet.
And Scuda gets the call. Yeah. Well, that's it's this whole helmet to helmet thing and incidental contact. Anyway, they have to address it again. They have to. In the officials' eyes, if you're going to make a tackle, you can't use your helmet because they're afraid of spearing. I get that, and they want you to. They want the defender to make an attempt to wrap up, and if that happens, and there's that kind of hit, then they let that go.
How about instant replay?
But instant.
Right.
I like instant replay. I just don't want the game slowed down too much.
That's true. You also have a situation where you get these silly penalties on these players who get so excited that I think
Mike Mitchell for Carolina, he gets a penalty right away because he's all overzealous on Vernon Davis. Now that did help the 49ers on the drive because they ended up getting a field goal out of it. But then a few plays later, Mike Mitchell get called again. Now I know Mike a little bit, and he's a really emotional guy. He wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he gets in trouble for it. As a Raider, he got in trouble for it.
Well, what can a coach do? You can tell him ahead of time, okay, guys.
You can't, because it's the personality of the individual. You can pull them off the field, and they eventually did.
Well, that's the thing. Is okay, you want to get excited, go off the field, and then do anything you want. That's okay.
Yeah, but it's
on the field.
Yeah, but when you're in the flow of the game, when you're in the moment, you're not even thinking rationally. I hate to say.
Okay, we obviously have to talk a little bit, but let's change subject here. A-Rod.
Okay.
Suspended for all of 2014. He's going to lose over $22 million of his $24 million salary.
And am I?
Are you crying for him?
Am I supposed to break out a violin for him?
Yes, you are.
No, I don't. Hey, the guy, God-given ability. He started doing this stuff because everybody else was, and he got caught. And now he's got to pay the piper. They got a witness. He's got text messages. He's got, in his eyes, irrefutable truth. That's why they went in and did what they did. And fortunately, he had a good lawyer and a players union to get it knocked down to missing a year instead of 2 years. But he does get to go to spring training.
Yeah,
it's
what's
just
that going to do for him now? Going to spring training?
It'll
make a circus out of the play.
Keep his muscle memory going. But I can tell you, the Yankees don't want him around. Yankees flat out do not want him around. But guy's got rights.
Yeah, what about the players too? I mean, that's going to be a little annoying too to have them around.
Well, think of the players who are doing this stuff and didn't get caught. And some of them might even be coming to camp. Maybe the players are like, well, gee, if it happened to me, I want the same kind of rights.
Yeah, those players' unions have just a little bit of a pull, don't they?
Yeah, but this is the end, Alex Rodriguez. Okay. This is the end, unless he wants to go play in Japan.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
or play on Coney Island in one of those independent leagues or whatever.
Okay. Before we get into the last part about this week's matchup, because I want to hear your version on that, can someone please teach Dan Deerdorf the strategy? Remember New England punter, ball goes over his head.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy actually, if you think about it, was actually really smart because since the ball did not go in the end zone to begin with, he's not allowed to kick it out of the end zone.
Right.
Okay. So what does he do? He tries to pick it up, and it almost like pulls a Dave Casper.
And then he hits the helmet of a guy, and it goes out of bounds anyway.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the safety, it would be, I mean, that's actually perfect based on that situation.
Did you know that was Dan Deerdorf's last game of his career?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, so that's he's saying.
Yeah, what is he saying about, oh, no, it's better to have them get the ball on the 2-yard line? Really? I mean, if they don't score a touchdown, isn't a field goal worth 3 points instead of 2 points for a safety?
At least Dan is leaving with us talking about it.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. Okay, you know what? We'll get into this matchup this weekend.
Well, I believe for the 14th time, it's going to be Brady against Manning again in a money game that means something. I think Brady is fearless. I think he loves playing on the road. I think he loves going into enemy territory. Yeah. I think Brady collectively has more healthy weapons at his disposal than the Denver Broncos. Now, I've been to Denver, and I know it's a tough place to play, and I love Peyton Manning. But I in a game like that, I don't bet against Tom Brady. I don't bet against him.
Even though he doesn't have Gronk.
No, he doesn't have Gronk. But I mean, did you see the running game?
The running game, yeah. Well, did
you see LeGarrette Blount?
Yeah. Oh.
Did you see guys were getting out of the way from tackling him? Linebackers and safety, they were running up. Blount was running to one side, and then they dove at his legs because they didn't want to hit him up high.
Because of the rules with the penalties?
They got Blount. Because Blount. Have you seen him? He's as big as a house.
Yeah. Is that Mel's son?
No. LeGarrette Blount. He started at Oregon. He was famous because he punched a guy in a bowl game.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and that cost his draft status.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, he's making up for it now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. So I mean, he's got Blount. He's got Shane Vereen. He's got these nondescript running backs which won the game. You believe Tom Brady did not throw a touchdown pass?
I know.
In the game last week.
That was amazing.
And I think the defense is they're just good enough to get in the way. But Manny's going to get his points. Manny's got Eric Decker. He's a great receiver. But I just think
too many weapons.
If
well, and it's not really Peyton versus Brady, but it is.
But as much as I'd love to see Manning right off into the sunset, and not to make
do you think this will be his last year?
No,
Okay.
but I think it may be his last crack at a Super Bowl.
Okay.
As much as I'd like to see him, make it, I think Brady's going to do everything he can to make it as difficult as possible.
Okay.
In that game.
What do you get? Give us a minute on 49ers Seahawks.
49ers Seahawks. It's the Super Bowl before the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It is the top two teams and the top two defenses in the entire National Football League. I mean, it's the offensive attack of the 49ers. It's the Legion of Boom that the Seattle Seahawks have. They're 15-1 at home in the last 2 years.
But wouldn't you agree that this last game they just didn't look strong. There was just some kind of weakness.
There's something going on with Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson has struggled these last handful of games. He completed one pass in the second half. But you know what? It's a really conservative offensive attack for Seattle, and they rely on their defense to get it done. And as long as they have beast mode, Marshawn Lynch, who just bounces off guys.
And Richard Sherman.
Who's the best shutdown corner in the whole league. I mean, they got some big guys back there. But for whatever reason, the 49ers are just on a roll.
Okay, and we're going to cut to our third commercial break. When we come back for some closing comments, I want to get your exact scores of both games.
Okay. All right.
Again, we're talking about the 1980s NFL. In 1989, which team finished the year with a dismal 1-15 record? The first three callers with the
I know the answer to that. I know that.
Okay.
That one I do know.
And it's funny because I remember this. Now I remember this vividly because I was on my honeymoon and then looking at that and going, oh my gosh, those guys are 1-15?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not for long, though.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, you know this answer. Okay, the first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-660-4495 to answer this question. In 1989, which team finished the year with a dismal 1-15 record? Vern took off his headphones because he knows the answer to this one. Sports Econ 101 will be right back with some closing comments. Who was it?
Dallas Cowboys.
That's right. Very good.
I know.
Jerry Jones came in there and everything changed. Well, he's the one that tapped Tom Landry on the shoulder and went, "You're done."
Let me
Was that Landry's last year?
Yeah, and then Jimmy Johnson came in.
Johnson. Yeah? That's failing.
They're good. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, we're about to hit another big swim weekend. Zach's going to compete in a meet at Cal for the first time in his young career. He's very excited about that.
Is this, is it all year round sport?
Yeah. And then high school season will start in the next few weeks for him.
And the other boys, do they?
Nikki? Oh yeah. Oh, Nikki's the top 9-year-old swimmer in the region. California, Oregon, Nevada.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Nikki's a big MF in the swim game.
What is it? What's his
50 free,
okay.
50 breast. He's a big time sprinter.
Excellent. Well, freestyle. That's the main one.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's finish up here. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn. Yeah, very right. Omaha. Okay, 1989. Which team finished? This is a trivia question. Again, the theme is 1980s NFL. Which 1989 team finished with the dismal 1-15 year record?
That would be your Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys?
Yeah.
Not that year. Okay, so Vern, we want to get from you the exact scores of both games.
Okay. AFC Championship game. I'm gonna go New England. I'm gonna go
Give us a score.
New England, I'm gonna go 31-27.
Okay, write that number
31-27.
New
England advances to the Super Bowl against, and I'm gonna go 49ers, knocking off Seattle, and I'm gonna go.
Give us a number.
23-19.
You know, it's close. Very close. I was going to say Niners 21-20, but I think I'm gonna.
It's going to be really close.
I'm going to go. I think New England is going to go make it in, but I'm going to go with Denver just for the heck of it, 30-27. Okay, thoughts for the day.
Wait, what about San Francisco, Seattle?
I already said 21-20. It's going to be.
21-20. Gotcha.
Get in there. Okay. Thoughts for the day. The breakfast of champions is not cereal, it's the opposition. And losers quit when they're tired, winners quit when they've won. Good philosophy. Okay, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and giving away vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thank you, Vern, for joining me once again in the studio. And audience, thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.